After a breakup with his girlfriend, a Washington, D.C. resident became a de facto landlord when she refused to leave, and it took him more than 6 years to evict her. I'm Tony, and this is Real Estate Investing and Landlord News.
It's been a nightmare. This is 6 years of my life.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely the worst eviction case we've ever had. I mean, 6 years to evict somebody is just crazy.
It was a relationship gone bad that turned into a nightmare for Doug Cleary. He was with a woman for 3 years. When they broke up, he tried to evict her from a house that he owned, one they originally intended to share.
We just had, a normal boyfriend-girlfriend relationship until the trouble started in September 2019.
Doug's ex first tried to claim that they were married under common law. That tied the property up for years before a D.C. judge said that was never true.
And she stayed there from 2019 when the eviction started, through almost the end of 2025. She has not paid a penny towards it.
All right, so I have quite the interesting article for you today, and it's coming out of Washington, D.C. So as you know, as I've said many times before, Washington, D.C. has some of the strongest tenant protections in the entire country. So nobody in their right mind, in my opinion, should want to be a landlord there. But in this case, we have a situation where a boyfriend and a girlfriend, they were living together and they broke up, and the girlfriend decided, hey, I'm not leaving. I'm not going anywhere, and you're going to have to go through the legal process in order to get me out of here. And this opened up a can of worms that ended up taking more than 6 years to be able to get rid of her. Now, this is the insanity of being a landlord in a place like Washington, D.C. It makes absolutely no sense. And in my personal opinion, yes, there do need to be some tenant protections, but very minimal. And if you can easily prove that, hey, you know what, this person isn't paying rent, this person has no right to be there, there is no reason whatsoever for it to take a very long amount of time, especially not 6 years, to be able to get rid of them. So before I get into the article, go ahead, hit the like, subscribe button, maybe leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think. So, I know obviously in a lot of these situations with a boyfriend and girlfriend, when a breakup occurs, one of the people just leaves on their own. I mean, why would you want to stick around in the house with the person who you're not getting along with anymore? But if you have nowhere to go, I can understand needing some extra time in order to find somewhere to go. But 6 years and the whole time not paying any rent? I mean, what kind of system would allow that? Okay, that's a good question. Washington, D.C. That's the kind of system that would allow that. But do you think that this is an appropriate thing to do or not? Go ahead and put a comment in the comment section down below. Let's get into the article. This article is coming from fox5dc.com, and it says, DC man says it took 6 years to evict an ex who never paid rent. Okay, so this guy became a landlord, didn't even want to become a landlord. So let's see what the article says. As the DC Council debates changes to landlord-tenant laws, one homeowner says his case shows how difficult the process can be. It can be challenging to evict someone in Washington, D.C. That's by design, the result of policy choices made over years. Now, as the D.C. Council considers the Rental Act, which would alter some of the city's landlord-tenant dynamics, one man's story underscores how complicated the system can be. Doug Cleary says it took him 6 years to remove someone from his property, a woman he once dated who he says never paid rent. Yeah, it's been a nightmare. This is 6 years of my life, said Cleary. Steve Krieger, an attorney who represented him, called it definitely the worst eviction case he's ever handled. I mean, 6 years to evict somebody is just crazy. Yeah, it's absolutely insane. And so a lot of people, they don't want to be landlords. Okay, they don't want to go out there, buy a property, rent it out to tenants, learn landlord-tenant law. But this is not one of those cases that you would traditionally think of as somebody, actively becoming a landlord. Yet you have to abide by all the rules, all the laws that were put in place by the city of Washington, D.C. Okay, so, another situation, and, we'll consider this, would be like having a roommate. You have a roommate, you own a house, and you're like, I'm having a little trouble paying a mortgage. So, I got my buddy over here and I'm going to rent him a room. Okay. And suddenly you're thrust into being a landlord, even though you're not, you don't consider yourself a landlord. You're not doing this for profit. You're doing this just to be able to get by. And maybe in the case of this guy here, this is just his girlfriend. And she's just staying there. It's no big deal, right? But you're a landlord because you're not officially married. No, you're not. Okay, so you own the place. You're not officially married to this lady. And so therefore, she is a tenant in your property. And when the relationship ends, she has to be treated as such. And that's, so you're a landlord the second she moved in. The second she moved in. Yeah, nightmare. This is nightmare stuff here, right? Okay, so then you suddenly realize that, hey, all these laws and rules, like you thought none of it applied to you. You thought, oh, this is only for those big bad corporations who treat tenants like crap. No, it applies to you too. Okay, that's why I say a lot of the stuff for these small landlords is almost impossible to deal with because you have to have lawyers. You have to go through this long process. It can cost you thousands upon thousands of dollars. And that's exactly what happened to this guy here. Okay, because she wasn't paying any rent, she was staying for free. She basically had, free living for 6 years on him. While they were broken up. Give me a break, okay? That's stupid, Now, going into the future, my suggestion to anybody would be, hey, don't move your girlfriend or boyfriend into your place, unless you want to have to go through this nonsense as well. Clary says the ordeal began after the relationship ended in 2019. He and his ex-girlfriend had been together for 3 years and planned to share a home he owned. And he just had, a normal girlfriend relationship until, Clary said, the trouble started in September of 2019. After the breakup, Clary's ex claimed they were married under common law, which tied up the property for years before a D.C. judge determined that was not true. And she stayed there from 2019 when the eviction started, through almost the end of 2025, Krieger said. She has not paid a penny towards anything. Even after Clary won the common law marriage fight, he says the eviction dragged on for years. His ex filed multiple appeals, twice winning emergency stays from the D.C. Court of Appeals, despite disobeying court orders to pay a bond or place money in escrow. Yeah, it was a series of, I think, very bizarre rulings from the courts, sort of across the board, Krieger said. So you had the courts protecting this lady, even though she wasn't paying anything, right? You had a weird situation where she claimed that, they were common law married, I guess because she wanted some of what he owned in that property, okay? They weren't married, but she was trying to go after his house. Yeah. So you see where all these issues come from, okay? This is just really a situation of greed by a crap tenant, or an ex, I guess you could say, who wanted something for free. And she got it. She got, tens of thousands of dollars, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of free rent for a 6-year period of time. And, of course, eviction in DC takes forever. So, and they're going to always have the tenants back regardless of everything. So yeah, you got screwed. You got absolutely screwed, and it sucked. Krieger, an experienced housing attorney, argues that DC has made it too difficult for landlords to evict tenants. There's also so many just basic technical requirements that could be a problem for a landlord, even if the occupant is not difficult, he said. Like if you don't have GPS coordinates on the pictures showing that you posted the notice, the case gets dismissed. Clary says his ex never paid rent, which should have been $4,000 a month over more than 5 years. I don't even want to try to calculate how much I've spent, he said. My guess is at least $100,000 and probably more. Even after she was finally evicted this month, Clary says the ordeal isn't over. He's still pursuing a civil lawsuit to recover some of his losses. So relief at first, but still, the nightmare for me is continuing, Clary said. And good that he's pursuing the civil lawsuit, okay? So a lot of landlords, they don't go after the lost rent. They just want the tenant out of the place. But after 6 years of abuse, I'm going to go after that money, okay? I am going to sue you. I want to garnish your wages. I want what you owe me back. And going through that type of a nightmare, that would make somebody bitter, especially when you're dealing with an ex, right? And she just abused the hell out of you. So guess what? When I start garnishing your wages, maybe you will start to understand that, hey, you know, what I did wasn't right. And even if you don't, well, at least I'll get my money back, okay? What do you think, okay? Do you think Washington, D.C. makes it too hard, especially for the small mom and pop landlords? Now, you know, this case is, it just shows you that, hey, for the people who are actually trying to be landlords in D.C., they're the ones who are really getting screwed. They're the ones getting just completely screwed over by problem tenants. Even the people who are not trying, they fall into the same laws. And, you know, you think that these laws only apply to the big corporate landlords with hundreds of units and who have millions of dollars and they'll be just fine. But no, it applies to everybody. And that's why I say we don't need these laws in place at all. Okay? That it should be easy and fast and inexpensive to be able to remove these problem tenants who aren't paying rent. But what do you think? Go ahead and put a comment in the comment section down below.